you see, in the end, my love won't stand the test. Get into a car, will you give what you deserve? My time not to talk, you see, I'm only going for the best. The only time you open up is when we're in bed. I'm not misunderstandable when I say it's the best time I ever had. But you gotta keep on moving, gotta give me some more. Gotta cool it down. I just want a real deal.
Hello, my name is Tucker Johnson, and I am your host today as we experience NIMSY Live, where we talk about the latest and greatest in translation, localization, internationalization, culturalization, and all that fun stuff global companies need to delight their international customers, or to at least not piss them off too much. On this program, we invite guests who like to have fun and have some value to add for our audience of globalization professionals. I'm always eager to provide a platform to those with a good story or a good data set, so let us know if there are any topics you'd like covered or guests we should reach out to for future episodes. If you haven't already done so, now's your chance. Make sure you are subscribed or following NIMSY Insights on your platform of choice. We are coming to you live mainly on LinkedIn today, but also simultaneously streaming to NIMSY's YouTube and Facebook and I believe Twitter account. So follow NIMSY Insights on your platform of choice, and you're going to be one of the first people to know when we publish new research or when we schedule new events like this. Speaking of events, we've got some upcoming events that I kind of want to plug here, and the best way to find out what those are is to head on over to NIMSY Insights LinkedIn page. You see our LinkedIn page here. We're live streaming, so it shows right there. And go down to the events tab. We've got some interesting conversations coming up. You'll see me again here with Michael Klinger for AI and Careers in the Language Industry. I'm speaking with Istvan Langle of Be Lazy. Does the translation industry suck at using a CRM? Should I stay or should I grow? With Adam Asnes. Got a very interesting conversation with Adam and my colleagues over on our growth team right there. And lastly, investing in tongue and tech, exploring the language industry's potential, where we're going to be talking to a private equity investor who has recently invested into our industry and has some lessons learned. If you are looking for an exit strategy as an LSP, or looking to see where you can invest into the language services industry, that would be a good event for you. A quick introduction to the platform. As I mentioned, we are coming to you live on LinkedIn. So the way that you can participate in this live event is check out the comments. You leave comments, and we can bring those up on screen. And if you have any question for me or for my guest today, then that is the way to interact directly with us while you're watching the live stream. And of course, if you are listening to the recording or watching the recording, you can always reach out to info@nimsi.com, and we will get back to you. So, without further ado, let's get into today's topic. Technology changes the way that we communicate, and the way we communicate influences the amount of information we share with one another. And that requires new ways, workflows, and technologies to process, adapt, and even localize the information so it can be received on the other end of the line. Current technologies allow the content to spread seamlessly across the globe. And if the global content was predominantly English 5 years ago, in 2 to 3 years, this changes completely because 75% of global content will be coming from outside of the English native zone. Today, we're speaking with Valentin Marchenko from VoxCube. The idea behind VoxCube started with a realization of a lack of sufficient and scalable resources to translate and localize corporate content. It also coincided with Valentin's co-founder, Valerie's experimentation with speech synthesis technology. Today, VoxCube is an AI-powered dubbing startup providing affordable and scalable voice localization services for content creators across multiple segments. My guest today is Valentin himself, CEO of VoxCube. He graduated in sinology. He studied in China. He studied its economy, history, and language, spent 10 years of his life working there and bringing global companies to China and vice versa. And so he is quite the multicultural chap, as I'm sure we're going to find out. Valentin, welcome to the show, and thanks for joining us today. Did I nail everything, or is there anything I left out on our intro here?
Yeah, pretty much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for giving the stage to everyone who wants to share something. It's amazing.
Well, I love it, and I love the fact that we're talking about voice technology and the intersection between. We'll talk about subtitles a little bit too, subtitles versus dubbing, and specifically, like in that intro there, one word sticks out to me when I'm thinking of what I want to talk about today, which is scalable. Right. And I had a chance to check out your website, which I probably should have brought up on screen here. For those of you at home, it's www.voxcube, that's VOXQUBE.com. And I was checking this out beforehand, and you do a lot of work with YouTube creators, it looks like. And that is not traditionally been a primary focus of LSPs, language service providers, that I talk to on a daily basis because, well, to be frank, there's no money there. YouTube creators are broke. Technically, I'm a YouTube creator because we're live streaming on YouTube right now, and I certainly can't afford to dub or even professionally subtitle my content into multiple languages. So, what's your secret sauce here? How have you been able to design a solution that's scalable, to use your words?
We're cheap.
You're cheap. You're affordable.
No,
I've
we're
learned
affordable,
you never
exactly.
use that word. That's a horrible word to use to describe yourself. You're not cheap. You're affordable. You're competitively priced.
Yeah. Well, actually, this is a very good point, and thanks to YouTube for finally making this happen with the multilingual soundtracks that they announced at the end of last year, beginning of this one. And basically, well, it was a hardship for YouTube creators to run multilingual channels, to start something new, to go to other geographies, because, well, you as a YouTube content creator should have found a new channel, right? Establish a new channel, promote each video separately, and just, well, manage those channels separately, and all of that stuff. And that takes a lot of time, that takes a lot of energy, and that takes a lot of resources, right?
Right.
So that was an additional cost. And now with the multilingual soundtrack, it is as easy as, well, as just plugging in a new audio. So you don't have those additional costs to manage your channel or to manage your separate channel. So this is just those additional costs go down the line, right? And then, well,
So
it
I mean,
is,
just to interrupt you, I'm sorry, and I love YouTube. YouTube is like my favorite social media platform. I'm on YouTube way too much, and to be honest, I didn't know that YouTube rolled out this functionality. So you're saying that it's okay. Explain to me a little bit what multilingual, specifically dubbing. I think we all know that it's possible to have closed captions and upload subtitles for your videos in multiple languages. But tell me a little bit about how does dubbing work on YouTube as from a content creator's perspective? How do I do that?
it's all the same as with subtitles and closed captions, actually.
Okay.
So you now it's in a testing mode, so it's not rolled out to everyone completely.
Oh, okay.
To our,
That's why I haven't seen it. All right.
yeah.
I'm not important enough. I'm not influencer enough to get that.
To our experience, you can qualify to get there once you reach an 800K subscribers milestone.
Yeah,
something like that. So once
I'm not
once
there
you
yet.
have once you have your YouTube channel manager or your YouTube manager, right? From YouTube team, and once your subscribers count is high enough, you can just ask to be included in the list of the testers. And there are thousands of content creators already using that, actually. But again, and as you rightfully pointed that out, not everyone knows about that, and this is still not available to everyone on YouTube, to every content creator.
Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, I'm sorry I interrupted you to go off on a tangent here.
No, but
Continue,
that
please.
that's as easy as to upload your subtitles, right? So you just take the audio file and upload it to your existing videos, and that's as easy as it, just a couple of clicks.
Okay.
And that's actually, I'm a newcomer to the industry, right? So
Sure.
as you said in my introduction, so I don't have an extensive localization experience. I haven't worked in an LSP or in an MLB or whatever. I come from a different background. I come from consulting background, and that is actually what stunned me what impressed me when I first got into localization, that it is so damn complex. The traditional localization is so damn complex. Once I come to an
Good.
LSP,
That keeps my bills paid. That's why I can run a consulting and advisory and research company for this industry, because it is complex, right? There's a lot of moving
yes,
parts. Yeah.
yes, but you're a YouTube creator, right? So, and you are a
Wannabe.
YouTube creator,
Yeah.
and yeah, you are. So, and what you want is you just want your video to be translated.
Yeah.
That's it.
I
So
don't want
you
to have
don't
to
want to
deal with all
hear
of that. Yeah. I
you don't
don't.
want to hear about MTPE. You don't want to hear about
Right.
this will tweak that, the translation memory and all that
Yep.
stuff and this and
I
that.
don't want
So
to have to deal with time codes.
you don't want to deal with time codes,
Right.
nothing. You just want to make 2 clicks,
Right.
right? So your translation, your localization should be 2 clicks away, and that's what we're doing. We just require a video, a link to the video, nothing else. And your desired language. So send us your YouTube link. State your preferences in terms of language, and that's it. We'll send you the either the synced video or just an audio, and you can upload it directly. That's it.
Wow.
We won't take any time from you.
And
Because they're all
and this is all tech enabled, AI enabled, right?
yeah.
You're not using human
Well,
voiceover.
that's where the complexity comes in.
Right.
Actually, we're not using human voiceover.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense.
we're dedicated to AI powered dubbing completely. But there are 2 offers that we have basically. The first one is a fully automated one, right? Where you have all the MT and everything. It is actually not yet reflected here.
Okay.
Not yet reflected on the webpage because we'll be rolling this out in a week
Okay.
from today. So yeah, exactly. You just shoot a link. you click so the source language and the target language, and you receive a video back in 5 minutes.
These are my
That's
two favorite two favorite words: self-service. Right. I
self-service,
think
exactly.
that's what people want and need, and I think this is, you're not from our industry. I've been plugging around the language services industry for a while now, and I've seen the various hypes and panics that have come with technology. Every time there's a new technology, people are worried, is this going to take our jobs? Right? And going back to machine translation, oh, we're going to be out of jobs. We're going to be out of work because everything's going to be machine translated. And what I've seen, what we've seen here at Nimsy Insights and continue to see, and this continues into the era of large language models, ChatGPT, and all of that stuff, is that the technology has not taken our jobs. It's changed our job description, sure, but it hasn't taken our jobs. And what it's done is it's empowered the world, not just our industry. It's empowered the world to do much more than it would normally. So what I mean by that is, without this cost-effective, scalable, AI-enabled solution like this, most YouTubers aren't going to translate their stuff. They're just not going to do it. It's not cost. There's no ROI on it. So you're not like you and those like you with your AI and stuff. You're not stealing work from the industry. What you're doing is you're creating more work that otherwise never would have gotten done.
Exactly. And thank you for pointing that out, because there are just so many content out there. I mean, the volumes are enormous. The whole YouTube backlog is just, well, enormous in alone, right? But then you take enablement videos, you take educational videos from educational companies from all over the globe, and those people wouldn't just translate their content because it was either, well, too expensive or too complex or too, I don't know why. They just didn't know about that, right? And now with all the interconnectedness in the world and the content flowing freely, there is a chance to start localizing that. And it is just, well, it is a new content coming up to the table, which haven't been localized before, right? And that's one point of it. And another point for the jobs part, right? So and getting back to the offers that we have. So the second one is the human in the loop part, right? Where we do get to change the translation, where we do edit the translation, edit the speech recognition, or edit the sound of the artificial voice to fine tune it that way so it sounds more natural, more engaging, right, and more captivating, so to say. So, and this is, well, we like to think that this is something where we create new jobs for people we refer to as neural voiceover artists, right? So those are professionals on the edge of three industries, basically: a bit of the coding, a bit of translating, and a bit of sound design, right? So they merge those three skills together to provide, again, affordable and scalable voiceovers for the content which otherwise wouldn't have been localized.
So tell us a little bit. This is fascinating. So it's kind of like voiceover. So when we talk about machine translation versus human translation in our industry, I'm sure you've heard this term, machine translation post-editing, right?
Oh,
where
course,
you run it through machine translation, and then a human post-edits it to make it perfect in theory, right? So this is kind of like synthetic voice post-editing, right? And what kind of role is that? Like, what's the background? You mentioned a little bit of coding, a little bit of language, a little bit of, like, if I wanted to find a synthetic voice post-editor, for lack of a better term, where do I even start that search? What's the background? Are universities even teaching that these days, or is this a brand new field?
It's a, well, yeah, it's good. I think no university is teaching that.
Right.
So, well, basically, the process goes, well, simply it goes in 4 steps, right? So the first one is speech recognition, right? The ASR. The second one is translation. The third one is speech synthesis, right? Voiceover, creation of voiceover, and the fourth one being syncing or mixing, mixing the audio and video together. All right. So there are there are a lot of state of the art tech out there for both for every piece, for speech recognition, for translation, for speech synthesis, but machine translation has been around for what, like 90 years, right?
For longer than people like to admit. Yeah.
Exactly. 1933 was the first patent,
right.
the first patent filed for MT, and still you cannot trust any machine translation engine, right? Still you want to post edit it that way so it sounds more natural. And same goes for the speech synthesis, right? So you need to stretch it. You need to apply some SSML and speech synthesis machine language tags, right? You need to add sometimes new characters like dots, spaces, or just transform the word that way so it sounds better, so the machine pronounces it better. So yeah, well, this is more or less a self-taught skill, I would say, and that's what we do every time we onboard a new neural voiceover artist. We teach them how to do that.
Nice. And you caught my attention because I got to plug something here. For those interested in learning about the history of machine translation, we have a great piece on nimsy.com. It's called A History of Machine Translation from the Typewriter to ChatGPT, all in 1 century. And yes, it does start off in the 1930s through 50s. But what I love about this piece right here is this infographic. I'm a little biased because I worked on this infographic. I'll go ahead and put a link here in the comments for anybody that wants to check that out. Synthetic voice. This is a fascinating thing for me. First of all, I want to ask if we go back to your website here, you're creating synthetic voices, and tell me a little bit about that. Are you working with a provider and customizing that, like Amazon Poly or one of the big voice providers? And hey, you don't need to give any confidential info if it's, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to tank your business here, but I'm interested in just how does that start? Do you build it from scratch?
This is a very good question. So, well, basically, what is a synthetic voice, right? So,
right.
So synthetic voice consists of two parts, right? The model and the data set for that model, right? So the data set also consists of several parts. The data set is a voice recording, a professional voice recording consisting of 60 hours, right? Aligned with text, which has been labeled properly according to phonetic alphabet, SSML tags, time codes, and all that stuff, right? So and then
could I? Sorry to interrupt. Could I, and just to take a practical example, not that I would ever do this, my ego isn't that big, but this is episode 75 of Nimsy Live, which means I'm sure there's more than 60 hours of me talking out there. Could I train a synthetic voice to sound like me? How many hours would I need?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I'll say it that way. So there is actually like voice cloning technology, right? Which takes on the existing model and the existing data set trained on the model, and then mixes up your voice characteristics into the blend and gives out your voice as a voice clone, right? So, but still you would need to have a professionally recorded, very consistent, with no background noises.
Got it.
With nothing, because for this basic data set you won't feed because you have that parrot running flying around.
True.
And
True. He's locked in the bedroom today, so no guest appearances. All right.
And messing up with the data, right? So what we would need is to put you in the studio and record 50 hours of your voice.
Makes sense.
on special texts.
Okay.
But then after we have this, and after this is the feature will be introduced in a couple of months, I believe, or a month or two from today, is voice cloning. So we can take your video 5 to 10 minutes and create a voice clone from your existing videos.
Very cool. Very cool. And I wanted to, for those listening out there or watching, you actually have some examples on your
Yeah.
website. So I thought maybe that would be fun to take a look at some of these. So these are videos, YouTube in the background. We have examples for Arabic, Danish, English, German, Hindi, Japanese, Spanish. I'm going to go with, which one should I go with here?
Oh, let's use English. I mean, this
English.
this would be
Okay, but I do want to do so this is synthetic English voice.
Can you imagine a society where you can pay the water delivery guy through his mobile credit card reader, pay the car wash guy via e-wallet transfer, tip the spa masseuse through your digital watch, and pay the local grocer using cards and QR scans? Or even grab a bite from vending machines with biometric payments.
I mean,
Sounds exhilarating,
you can
right?
tell
Catch your breath.
it's synthetic,
The
kind
cashless
of.
future is here and
There's an
now.
uncanny
With
valley,
payment as a
but
100% digital.
not really.
Go to YouTube. Go to YouTube.
Okay.
Go to YouTube.
By
Okay, give me a
2025,
sec.
global-
Let's go to YouTube. Your wish is my command. YouTube.com. Let's do
Type
it.
in Arvinesh.
Ooh, spelling, please.
ARVIN space ASH. Arvin.
Aaron Ash. Okay. Pokey
No,
awesome too.
that's not Arvin. ARV.
Arvin
Arvin.
Ash. Okay. Arvin
Yeah,
Ash.
exactly. Yeah. So type in.
When
Yeah, click
Einstein
this.
first published the
So
special
this is the major video. Play that. Play that one.
theory of
Yeah.
relativity in 1905,
Right.
he was either
Then
vehemently
click-
ridiculed or ignored. People thought it was just too weird and radical
So
to
this
be
is
real.
his voice, right?
This
This
guy's not
is
even
Arvin's
working
Okay.
scientist. He's just a
voice.
patent clerk.
Then
in some
click
sense.
the gear
How dare you
where you
challenge
select the
the
audio
greatest
quality or
scientist that ever lived,
the
Isaac
captions.
Newton, whose
Audio
theories have
track.
been proven to be
Audio
correct
track.
for hundreds of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some politicians
And then
even
now let's put
insulted his
Hindi.
religious heritage and called
Okay.
it Jewish.
पारंपरिक संस्कृति और सोच को उखाड़ फेंकने का प्रयास करता है। आइंस्टाइन ने खुद इस बारे में कैसा महसूस किया? वे भी अपनी थ्योरी से पूरी तरह संतुष्ट नहीं थे। थ्योरी केवल स्थिर गति से सीधी
That's
रेखा
a
में
synthetic
चलने वाले
voice?
पर्यवेक्षकों पर लागू होता था। यदि गुरुत्वाकर्षण मौजूद
I would
था
not
या
be able to
पर्यवेक्षक
tell
गति कर
that that's a
रहा था,
synthetic
तो
voice,
सिद्धांत में
but
खुद
then
को सही
again,
नहीं ठहराया।
I don't speak
You don't
Hindi.
speak Hindi.
लेकिन
Yeah.
आइंस्टाइन अपनी बहुत समृद्ध कल्पना के
I
लिए
want to
जाने
try
जाते
another
थे।
one here. German. I do speak
Und so
some
kam
German.
es der Legende nach, als er eines Tages einen Fensterputzer auf einer Leiter in der Nähe seines Patentamtes beobachtete, bekam er die Idee zu einem seiner berühmten Gedankenexperimente, das den Lauf der Wissenschaftsgeschichte verändern sollte. Er stellte sich vor, was
Wow.
passieren würde, wenn der Arbeiter abstürze.
All
Aber
right,
er
I
stellte
don't want to
sich das
just, we're boring our podcast listeners here, just playing around with YouTube. But that German, I do speak some German and I studied German, and I don't think I'd
Okay.
be able to tell that is just being not a native not a native German speaker.
As a native you would. As a native
Sure.
you would tell that that's creepy or that's different, right? That's strange. But that's the thing, right? So that's what we are talking about. That and again, well, back to the jobs issue, right? Back to the jobs question. Would like everyone to be doing well their jobs, and I would like to everyone keep their jobs. So for the feature content, neural voices, and AI-powered dubbing won't cut it for the major cases, right? Because what you can hear and how you can distinguish a neural voice from a human one is the intonation part, right? It is very consistent. It is very plain, flat, with no voice or emotion transfer whatsoever, right? So you can play to some degree with that, but you cannot make, Brad Pitt speak French with all Brad Pitt's intonations and that stuff. That's why we're saying that. All right, so feature content is not for neural voices, but what is for neural voices is this enablement, educational science, pop science type of thing, right? So that's where you can benefit from that.
Yeah.
And that's where you don't need the emotional transfer, actually.
Well, and let's talk about education because that's another vertical I saw that you were involved with. But really quickly, and Doris and everyone else in the comments, I'm sorry you're having trouble with the links. I don't know what's going on with that. Sometimes LinkedIn does weird things with the links when I copy and paste them. So we'll have to look at that later. Apologies if the links aren't working. Let's. You brought up education. Education is a great application of this. Like, is this something that you've seen schools start to, like schools, universities, public schools, start to adopt for their language access needs and to serve more students? Or when you're talking about education, are you talking more about online education? And by the way, like my personal opinion is in 20 years, it's all going to be online. I don't see how
Yeah.
universities can really survive. Sorry, my university colleagues out there, because I have a lot of you. Don't hate me, but it's a dying business model for a number of reasons that we won't get into today. So, what do you mean by what are the
I would
applications
argue.
for?
I would actually argue with that.
Please.
To some
I
degree.
want to be wrong.
I mean, well, how do I put this? So what you can take away all the information that is being shared through the university as an institution, right? As the medium for information, universities are doomed, so to say, right? Because Harvard cases are Harvard cases everywhere, right? And you can access them.
You can
on YouTube.
I have
on
yeah.
YouTube, everywhere, exactly.
But it's not the same.
It's not the same. Yeah, it's not the same. But that again, the delivery of that information can also be accessed, right? So you can record yourself being a brilliant professor, being a brilliant teacher. You can record yourself, and we know numerous examples about that.
Yep.
But what you can't take away is networking, right? So
Yes.
those bonds which are being created in the university halls and the university lecture rooms, those cannot be replicated for the in the online world. So I think that university are there to stay, but in a more limited format. So,
Fair. Yeah, I would agree with that. No pushback.
Back to your original question. So when we talk about education, we primarily talk about online education, and we primarily talk about ed tech startups testing their hypothesis on the global markets, testing their libraries on the global markets, and all of those things. So we don't actually see universities as institutions going into that sphere yet. But again, I think that's going to change in a couple of years.
Yeah. And one thing that I love about the scalability of the technology-driven solutions these days, like I keep coming back to that word, scalability, because that's what makes this disruptive. I mean, synthetic voices aren't brand new. It's not a brand new thing. They're getting better. They're getting to the point where it's kind of feasible and it's scalable. But dubbing is not new at all. Dubbing has been around since people started creating multimedia stuff out there. And so it's not new at all. And so the revolutionary process here isn't, we're going to put foreign voices over the source voice. The technology is like, it's so cheap to do that we can actually do that at scale. And one thing that I've noticed in our increasingly globalized world is that 20, let's go back 20 years. 20 years ago, like when I was growing up, like I didn't watch foreign films. Like only weirdo drama kids watch foreign films, right? Like now I'm an American. Full caveat. Sorry about that. I'm American. I apologize for my people. No, I don't. But I was never exposed to that. So I was never exposed to South Korean multimedia. I was never exposed to Spanish movies, stuff like that. And nowadays, just look at Netflix, and a lot of the most popular titles that you see out there are being created outside of Hollywood, outside of Bollywood, outside of Nollywood, outside of the traditional places that you would expect movies to come from. And I think that's been enabled a lot by advancements in language services as a whole, but also with technology.
Of course, and well, as Eric Barmak put it, the CEO of Wild Sheep Content during the ConLocon EGA's conference on localization in April, other countries are great storytellers too, and we need to acknowledge that. And I strongly agree with that fact. And you brought up Netflix. If you take a look at the at the pace of increasing of the foreign content increase on Netflix, you will be amazed. So I don't remember the numbers correctly, but it was something like from 2013 to 2018, there were only about 300 Netflix original titles, out of which 50 were non-English, right? And now Netflix invests in 2.5 billion in Korean movie scene, right? And
yeah, they're actually funding this stuff.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
producing. They're not just hosting, but they're actually producing, sending it to these end markets. And I've heard some fascinating talks from the folks over at Netflix that is a big part of their strategy is content creation in the local markets, which is primarily, of course, meant to target those local markets with local taste preferences, culturalization, all of that stuff. But it also has this rollover effect of it's bleeding content into different markets around the world. And to your point here, I just pulled up Netflix account here. One of the 6 menu item drop downs on the Netflix homepage is browse by languages. That is like insane to me, that it's not so much that they have multilingual content, but the fact that it's such a core part of what they do that it made this prime real estate up here at the top of their homepage. It's fascinating. Now, of course, they're not using synthetic voices, though.
No, they're not. No, they're not. No way they're going to.
Right.
In the recent, in the recent future, not so distant future. But I think we'll be there. I think one day we'll be there to mimic human voice completely. I'm not going to speculate when that's going to happen, but it's definitely going to happen.
Quick time check here. Oh, we got plenty of time. Great. I want to talk to you about, go back to the training process of creating these synthetic voices. Where does, and you mentioned, if I wanted my own voice to get created as a synthetic voice, it'd take a bunch of hours recording in a studio. How are they doing this synthetic voice training now? Are they actually paying people to go in and record hours and hours and hours in studios, or are there databases, audio databases out there, publicly accessible, that they recording our phone call? Is Alexa recording everything I ask her and then using my voice to train things? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, well, this is a very good question, actually. You can of course get data from publicly available resources, or you can buy data online from call centers, right? Because they're just thousands and millions and billions of hours recording for the call centers, right? Which you can buy online and use them to train your model. But the GIGO, right? The GIGO factor kicks in, the garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
You can have state of the art models, but if you feed those models with shitty data, then what you get is a shitty voice, right? So you actually need to hire someone. You actually need to go out there and record this on your own, or use a service provider to do that for you. And that's actually one of the biggest struggle, to my knowledge, one of the biggest struggle in the speech synthesis industry, to get the data. because it is not only about money, it is also about, well, the rights and how to clean the rights for the voice, because this is a very sensitive topic, and I mean, you need to pay attention to that, because people don't want to lose their voice in the world. Literally lose the rights to their voices, right? And they don't want to find out that they've been marketing, I don't know, drugs out there, or being used for political exposure or whatever. And that's the big issue. And well, to our advantage, our background is in localization. My background is not in localization, but our VoxCube's background is in localization.
Okay.
Right? So my co-founder Valery is CEO and the founder of one of the biggest CIS-based localization and dubbing studios called Cyrillica. So they've been working with Netflix, with Sony, with Disney. You can check them out. It's cyrillica.com. And yeah, well, we have those data sets, and we have perfect relationships with our actors. They know us, they trust us. We've been working with them for the past 15 years. And yeah, that's where our data is kind of coming from.
Very cool. I wanted to point out, we have in the audience here Constantino de Miguel from Prime Group, who is also heavily involved with this type of stuff that we're talking about here today. It says voiceover and dubbing are different things. I guess AI dubbing is mostly voiceover because the original track is heard, unless they can provide real lip sync translation in audio. And yes, thank you, Miguel, for pointing this out, because not all... We like to use words like dubbing interchangeably, and the reality is there's different types of voiceover is not dubbing, subtitles is not closed captioning. There's subtle nuances to a lot of the things that we're talking about today.
That is definitely correct. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. That is definitely correct. There's voiceover with the original track being on the background, right? There is dubbing, there is lip sync, and there is all kinds of things that you can play with. But again, that brings me back to my original point. A YouTube content creator doesn't give a shit about that.
They don't.
He doesn't want.
They don't know the difference.
He doesn't want. He or she doesn't want to know about that. Just make it work. Just make it make it heard. Make it being heard in other language. Be it dubbing, be it voiceover. I don't care. Just make it work. So, yeah.
How far away are we? So we're talking about YouTube, right? And you guys work with a lot of other applications, not just YouTube, I'm sure, right? But how far away are we from able to, let's not talk about YouTube. Let's talk about Twitch, right? Let's talk about live streaming. Let's talk about real time voice-to-voice translation, whatever you would call that, basically simultaneous interpreting. Is that anything that you follow closely, or do you just stay in your lane with the dubbing and subtitling and voiceover?
So, when we first started, we received a lot of requests for that topic, for the simultaneous interpretation. I'm sorry, in the interpretation. Yeah. I'm sorry. And first we were paying attention to that, and first we were trying to figure out how to do that and all that stuff. But then we realized that we should better stay in our lane, as you said, because we need to focus on something. And then the technology is again not there. If we're doing that automatically, right? So what we can do, right? So we can capture speech. Right, so we can capture. Say we have this conversation now, and we try to translate it simultaneously. So, what we can capture speech, but we will have, with the most advanced algorithms out there, we'll have 90 to 95% correctness of the speech recognition. Right. Then we need to run it through MT, right, and it will take some time. So there will be a delay for the speech recognition. Then there will be a delay for the MT. And taking into account that we have a 90% accuracy for speech recognition, what we will get in the MT as the MT output is not 90% accuracy, translation, but 60 to 70% correct translation, because well, those mistakes are just adding up, or they're just stacking up, and then we'll need to do the speech synthesis, and it's just messy. At the end of the day, at the end of the funnel, it will be just messy, and we're not going there.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's probably a good call on your part. And one thing that I've seen, which is to the dismay of a lot of providers in our industry who were trying to implement this technology themselves, is platforms like Google, Facebook, whatever, Skype, Microsoft are starting to roll out their own platforms here, or their own technology. And I just wanted to do this. I'll bring over the Google Meet. I'm going to screw everything up, but I'll bring over the Google Meet here so that everybody can see it. Just directly here in Google Meet, I can talk and I can get live captions right here. It used to be, I don't know how to do it right here, but there was a way to figure out the captions, language of the meeting, translate to Spanish, so that I can actually have in real time, if I'm having a multilingual meeting with somebody, I can actually have this on screen. And I think this is great, because even if it's not enough to actually translate the voice or interpret the voice in real time, if I have people that perhaps speak English, but it's not their first language, or they need a little bit extra help with that, then we have these captions here. And for those of you that can't see on screen because it's too small, like, it is actually translating what I say in real time into Spanish. I'll give you a sec. Lindo, says Valentin, right? So anyways, now that I've screwed up everything here, I'll go back to this, and I'll get you all fixed up again. Oh, let's see. Any questions from chat? Now's your time, guys. If you have any questions for Valentin, for me, any comments? Let's bring those up on screen here. And we have a chat from Julian Lee. Are there any technical limitations in terms of video length, size, quality, etc.? Yeah, let's talk about the limitations. What are the technical limitations? Video length, size, quality, anything else?
So, well, basically, I would say
thank you for your question, Julian. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much. For the completely automated solution, the length would play the most crucial role, I believe, right? Because what we do is we just run it through an algorithm, we just run it through the model, and the intonations, the pronunciations, and all of this stresses of the words, pauses, and all that stuff tends to break on the long abstracts of text, right? So we don't, in the automated solution, we don't get to play around with that, and that's when you can see the the hiccups arising, right? So the problems arising with the intonation, stresses, pauses, pronunciations, and all of those things. So the length would be a limitation for sure, and the overall character of the content, right? Because if you do if you want to run an entertainment type of content, say, or not an entertainment, let's say some vlog, right, from just your life. You're going and you're going places and just filming yourself. You know how those popular YouTube blogs are, and you're screaming something. You're very emotional. You're laughing and all those things. So that won't do it for the world voiceover, right? So it will be all right in terms of so we can capture it, we can translate it, we can synthesize it, but it won't just fit the content. It would feel very, very strange. So yeah. the length, the for the automated part, and the character, or the character of the content
Yeah.
would be the limitations here.
Yeah, it was a good question. Good answer too, because I mean, all of these things that normies wouldn't think about, right? Like but now that you say it, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, if you're like screaming, laughing, crying, the artificial intelligence is gonna have a real hard time being able to translate those emotions and
Yeah,
volume.
we actually had a funny case. So once we published, like, um, it was a couple of months ago, we made a publication like, send us your content, we'll localize it for free.
Okay.
So it's kind of a
That's
promotion,
risky.
and we were thinking like, yeah, now we'll get all the science blogs, now we'll get all the education stuff, and everything we'll like. Everything we'll love, we'll do it, and then we'll get a lot of leads and everything. But what we got actually was music videos. We got, those vlogs and some cartoons. And then we were just, no,
Sorry.
we screwed up. We screwed up.
Yeah.
We-
Never, and I mean this. Don't hate, audience. I mean this with all respect to the customer, but never underestimate the ignorance of the client. And with all respect to the client, right? Because it's not their job to know about these
Yeah.
things. That's why we have jobs, because we're here to help people. But
Exactly.
yeah, that makes sense. We have a question from Doris here. Can you work with several languages even not being a native speaker? And I'm not sure exactly
Can you
what
elaborate on
Yeah,
that, Doris,
if you can
please?
elaborate a little bit on that, Doris. I'm wondering, of course, because quality control is what comes to mind. Like of course, you can upload, I can upload this live cast. I can put a link into your website and get back 5 different languages that I don't speak. The only thing about not being a native speaker of those languages that I would,
Need to quality check.
yeah, the quality check, right? Because if I cared enough, right, I'd want to go. The reality is I wouldn't care enough. I'm not going to listen if this podcast is 5 hours. I'm not going to go listen, or if this podcast is 1 hour, I'm not going to go listen to 5 hours of podcasts just to quality control 5 languages that I don't speak. So yeah, if you can clarify a little bit. Oh, so Doris says I speak 5 languages. Show off. Can I do that even not being native in 4 of them?
All right. Okay, so you mean as a neural voiceover artist? Well, we'll need to check that. So we'll need to quality check your knowledge of the language. So basically, people who we employ as neural voiceover artists are either certified translators or native speakers, bilingual native speakers in the set language pair. So we do our QC as well.
Let's see what she says. Back to chat. Yes. What does the quality control look like? From Kenya Smith, new person asking a question. Yeah. So what does the quality control process look like in this?
Well, basically, for in what if we speak about the AI output that we get, right, or if we speak about the HR type of thing. If we speak about the quality check for the AI output, then well, for automated one, we don't have any quality check. That's why it's just
Makes
why
sense.
it's automated,
Right.
completely. And if it is a human in the loop, then it is a quality check on our sides. So this neural voice or artist also does the QC, right? So he or she makes sure that first the QC of ASR, then of MT. So it's basically MTP, and then of the speech synthesis, and then it's also a way of communicating with our clients, right? So we're sending them the files, they do the QC on their side. If there's something they don't like, they send it back. So it's just it's pretty much standard type of thing.
And is that quality control? So you have the voiceover effects artist, engineer, whatever his or her title is. as they're making those updates, is that going back and training the engines more, or is it just
Yep.
a one? Okay, so it's improving over
So
time.
it's improving over time, and this is where what's kind of our vision is. That's what our pitch deck says. that we are going for the the buzzword generative voice AI. So every markup that we make, every edit that we made on the speech synthesis part is being stored, is being saved, and is being put back into training to to understand and to research how how this or that voice reacts to this or that type of content, to this or that type of pronunciations and everything. So at the end of the day, we believe we can achieve the milestone where the model will understand, will capture the emotions and the intonations and the imperfections of the original speech and replicate them in the synthesized speech with no human edit, or with as little human edit as possible.
Right, and this is amazing. And we're getting to the point. I've had these conversations with other folks more in the machine translation training realm, not voice, but I imagine it's going to be kind of the same boat. Is that we're getting to the point where machines are training machines. And I mean, I'm not the tech guy who can talk in depth about that. There are plenty of smarter people than me. But to me, that just seems kind of scary. And even if I don't say it's scary, I'm expecting the speed of improvement to only increase. Especially like within in the short term. I'm sure they'll hit a cap where it starts to level out as far as the incremental improvements that can be made to the technology. We're starting to see that now. The research points to, especially for the big languages for machine translation, we're kind of getting to the point where incremental improvements aren't enough to justify additional R&D into it. And so what we're seeing is more investment, well, not so much investment, but kind of taking over from the academic side, the universities, the research, independent researchers, to focus on, not the long tail, the languages of lesser diffusion. So right now, I mean, I'm sure I can have my video translated into French, Italian, German, and Spanish, no problem. And no disrespect to you, but I doubt very seriously you're going to provide real-time scalable voiceover into Swahili for me.
No,
right? Just because the data is not there.
For sure, no.
Right. And so
the data is not there yet, and
Yeah.
I mean, there is no way. I mean, for now at least, there is no sense in investing in that heavily.
the
to
ROI
increase
is
it.
just
And
not there.
this is the ROI is just too small to pay attention to that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah, and so that's where we're going to see. That's where academia, I think, needs to pick up the ball and run with it a little bit. But we can get into inclusivity aspects and ramifications of artificial intelligence. That's a whole different podcast. I think we've covered a lot today. Valentin, as we're coming up on the hour here, any final thoughts or things that you'd like to add before we start wrapping up today?
Thank you very much for having me. I enjoyed this conversation very much, and that's how I would like to wrap it up.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. And for those of you listening, Valentin's been a very good sport. I had to cancel on him. We had this scheduled earlier this month, and I had to cancel on him at the very last minute. So he's been a very good sport, and I've been looking forward to having this chat the whole month. So thank you very much for coming on the show today, Valentin.
Thanks.
And I will take us out here. Ladies, gentlemen, chat, we are out of time today. If you enjoyed this Nimdzi Live experience, then join us next time. Next time, as we already looked at and I don't know where I pulled it up, but to go to Nimdzi's LinkedIn page, and once you're at Nimdzi's LinkedIn page, you can go to the events tab and find out all of the events that we have coming up, including Nimdzi Live podcast, including showcase events like we had yesterday when we talked about internationalization challenges in 2023, which is a very fascinating topic. If you missed that panel and you're interested in internationalization, you owe it to yourself to go check that out. It's all on NIMSY Insights LinkedIn page or our YouTube channel where we archive everything. I appreciate our guest, Valentin. I appreciate my colleagues here at NIMSY Insights doing all of the hard work behind the scenes. I appreciate everybody in our industry that responds to our surveys, schedules briefings with us so that we can include you in our published industry research. And finally, I appreciate you, the audience, who are joining us live today. I appreciate the dialogue and chat, everyone who leaves questions, comments, and especially criticisms. And I will look forward to next time. Cheers.